Check this.
Saying that it feels right.
It's always good to see you guys. This guy right here you see on the screen is Chris Holmes. He's going to be joining us here momentarily on Be Encouraged. Chris is a fantastic encourager, influencer. He's also got his business degree. He's his master's degree in business, and he's just making the world. He's taking the world by storm. He has written 6 books. And it's all about changing your, Okay, well, let's see something here. Let's see something. I've got something. Chris, we are 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So right now is when I need you. So anyway, he is going to be on here momentarily. I think he's definitely in a different time zone. So he will be joining us here momentarily, and we'll be talking about what he's been up to. One of the books that he's in and an author in within a bunch of other authors is The Impact of Influence by Chip Baker. He's one of the many authors that Chip Baker put together to bring some influence, some world wisdom to people who are reading The Impact of Influence. And he is an influencer, Chris Holmes, in his own right. And it's exciting to be able to have him on and talk about what's going on and how you can change your mindset so that things that come at you, that will come at you of a negative manner, will not succeed. Because if you change your mindset, you can overcome this kind of barrage that we get all the time in this country and in this world that we live in today, because there's always something negative coming at you. And if you can just change your whole way of looking at it, which I'm trying to do every single day, and one of the reasons we have Be Encouraged is to help you do that as well. And we're going to try and move forward in a positive, encouraging, joy-filled way. We're really excited, and I'm super happy to have him on. I'm sorry that we got a little late start here. that's how everything kind of moves along with us. Let's play a couple more of our wonderful little things that we have, and then we'll have you guys on with Chris Holmes.
Check this.
Have him, and we've got his little magazine cover up there for us. And Chris Holmes, how are you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you though, so I don't know what's going on with that. Oh, you just muted and unmuted. No, I cannot hear you now. You look good though. I can't hear you though. I don't know. Maybe you need to pop out and pop back in. Oh, your mic might not be on. That's right. There he is. There you go.
All right, cool. All right, cool.
All right, I hear you. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good. I could have swore you said like it's 9 a.m. here.
I know. I'm sorry. I did not portray that to you well enough. I did try to put in, Eastern Daylight Time, but I should have just said, we should have had more of a conversation before we started this whole thing. But that's okay. We let those, when things come at us, right? This is what you've been writing about and you've been saying to people for years. That is when the negative's coming at you, you got to flip the script, and right? Am I right?
Yes.
Huh? Okay.
Yes, so adjust it well.
Huh?
I say you just adjust. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Yeah, we got you. Yeah. We got you. So, Chris, tell me a little bit about you're an author. You've got 6 books. You've got stuff in 6 books, and you've been interviewed in magazines. You're kind of. It seems that you're. Do you have a set of headphones?
Let me see. Let me grab some. Right.
Because I'm hearing myself come back through your computer.
Grabbing ones right now.
There we go. Perfect.
All right.
All right, that'll work. That way there's no feedback and come back on us. So we can just chat away.
Exactly. Let's see.
Much better. Yes, much better. Can you hear
Is
me
that
good?
a lot better?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
But-
Yeah, there's no
all right,
there's no
awesome,
interruption, no interference or anything like that. So yeah, that's great. Bubba Almany is listening, so we appreciate you watching it, Bubba. You're a good man. Bubba is a professional bodyguard who does a lot of people's, and he's also does a lot of stuff up in Northern Maryland with encouraging his community. So, you know, I love having the encouragers on watching. I'm looking forward to having more of just the regular Maine folks listening. But you know, we live here in Northern Virginia, where we both mostly broadcast from. But we're on Facebook, so we can broadcast to the world, and we do have people listening in lots of other parts. But we live right outside of, right outside of Washington D.C.
Okay.
And so there's a real good, and I have some great influencers in D.C. in the city, working with people within the city, kids, young people, adults as well. And so I know it seems to me as I read your book, there's a very much of an urban flair to the book, and that's where you kind of seem to move into that area, which can be it's a myriad of kinds of people within the urban community, more so than when you start to move out into the suburbia and into the rural areas, obviously. Even though there's a good mix there too, there's way more diversity. Well, we're here in suburbs of DC, so we have a lot of diversity. I mean, there's 57 different countries represented at the high school that I worked at. So that's mind-boggling to me. And 70 some different dialects and languages that are all represented as well. Tell me a little bit about what your mission is in the urban community.
So my mission is to basically let people know that they are the solution, and that starts with a lot of belief back into themselves. I feel like a lot of times we're going through adversity and much more. You lose sight of that because you allow outside forces or other people lose confidence in yourself. And I believe like once you get back to the point of loving yourself, you'll be able to leave an impact into your community and much more. It all starts with yourself, or I use like the phrase, the Michael Jackson starts the man in the mirror. So it starts with you.
That's right. Yeah.
And once you do that, everything else flows naturally into place.
That's excellent. You know, I do a radio show every morning on my radio station, which is More Joy Radio. And Man in the Mirror is one of my favorites to play. I like to try and play as many. I like to play songs to entertain people, but I also like to try to play songs that have a message, have a meaning that people can grasp and understand. And of course, we talk about it a little bit on the radio show as well. It sounds like what you're doing is outstanding. Tell me a little bit about how do you approach your message and getting your message out there?
So first off, I would say like just being myself authentically. And it goes back to what I previously was saying of loving yourself, because once you start doing that, everything goes into place. Because if you're trying to be something you're not, you're going to struggle with that. Your message.
And people are going to see that. People are going to recognize that.
Real quick.
Yeah.
And like you can only front it for so long, and then naturally with the truth is going to come out. So always be yourself, flaws and alls, because a lot of people can relate to vulnerability. Well, I don't like using vulnerability as a weakness, but as a way of being open, because it's like watching your favorite superhero movie. Like I'll use Superman for example. You see the times where he gets around kryptonite, and you see that sign where he's down. But you love the story of him coming back up and showing strength, because people can relate to that and so much more. Right.
You know, it's interesting when you just said that. It's making yourself vulnerable as opposed to being vulnerable. Right? I mean, when you just said that about vulnerability, I just thought to myself, you know, that makes a lot of sense, because there are times in my life when I felt very vulnerable and I didn't want to be vulnerable. I felt like I was being there's too much negative coming in, and I was vulnerable to it. But, you know, when you stand up and you allow yourself to the person who's in front of you, you allow yourself to be vulnerable so that you can reach what the level they're at. and be able to minister to them or talk to them or speak to them at their level. That means you have to allow some vulnerability to come within you, and but that's control. You have to have control of your vulnerability, and that's a powerful ability. I think. I don't know that I have it, but I
You
think
do.
it's something that I'm gonna make myself more conscious of trying to be. But thank you for that. That's a powerful
Welcome.
message about letting yourself be vulnerable in certain situations, and
Yeah,
but having control of it.
and I always like to say, like, when I view like life as a classroom, to be honest, as like, you
Hmm.
know how you go into a classroom and you get like a new lesson plan, and the teacher's writing all on the board, and you're like, oh snap, I just got used to the previous lesson, and now you added something new. That's how life
Absolutely.
is. You can be
Yeah, yeah.
something fearful, or like challenge yourself outside your comfort zone, and but you got to eventually walk your way up to the board and start writing out. You may be struggling trying to figure out the questions. People may laugh at you, or you may be like, "Oh, I hope I don't make a mistake in front of everybody." But if you think about it, that's how life is. You're going to go through that adversity. You're going to go through those challenges. You may be concerned what people may thinking about you, but eventually, if you keep going and trying, you're going to find a solution, and then
Absolutely.
everybody praises you from that.
Yeah, that's right. One of the other things that you have written about and talked about with your in your speaking is um, wisdom, and that's one of my personal main attempts is to be wise. And I remember always recall back to the Bible verse with Solomon when God says, "I'll give you anything you want, because you've been such a great influence on people and whatever. I'll give you anything you want." And he said, "I don't want anything tangible. I just want wisdom." And God
Yep.
said, "Is that that's the wisest thing anybody could ask for."
Yeah, because wisdom goes so many in lengths. It's like you rather learn from somebody else's mistake than actually learn from your own mistake yourself, because it takes the wisdom you learn from other people and just being and listening.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of times we have be stubborn, like, oh, well, whatever, they don't know what they're talking about, and all of a sudden, boom, you bump your head, and like I told you, but you didn't listen. But if you're wise enough to listen, you will avoid the whole situation as well. But we're all human beings at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
so we're
Absolutely.
gonna have times we're gonna be like, whatever, I got this, and but we just got to be mindful to just take the time out and listen.
Sure. Well, you know what they say, you got one mouth and two ears, use them in proportion. I mean, in other words, listen more than you speak. And you're going to, number one, like you just said, you're going to become wiser by listening instead of speaking. Um, but at the same time, I mean, you can sit and listen all day and gather wisdom and all that, and that's where you take that and move it to, or let's say you go to hear Chris Holmes speak, and you just sit and listen, and then when you go to your next place in life that you're destined to be at, or providentially going to be at, then you can use that wisdom that you gained from you sucked it out of Chris, and now you've got this extra little bit of something that you just learned that you can lose. And it's funny, Chris. I know I'd like you to speak to this too, but I know that whenever I've learned something like this vulnerability thing, this is a boom to me, to allow
Boom.
yourself to be vulnerable. It is, and I guarantee you, within the next week, I'm gonna come up against something where I'm gonna have to allow myself to be vulnerable to them, so that I can encourage them, so that I can make them feel safe, make them feel wanted, and make them feel, secure in whatever it is that I say then back to them, is truth and is wise, and that they can take that and use that themselves. Now I know that you already do that, so tell me a little bit how you approach that.
So, like when it comes down to, especially like when the next step, I'm gonna use my personal experience out there, like learning and listening to people, and it's the hardest. Well, more of a mindset, because once you learn these different things, it's the main thing when it comes down to is the application, the action, the execution. When it comes down to it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things like you may have all these goals right there and much more, but it really comes down to the execution. Is it going to be easy? No, but there's so much more lessons in the application. It's like
Mm-hmm.
going back to in my previous thing of going up to the board. Like, what if you just sat there in the seat and just watched? You're
Right.
listening to the
Yeah.
teacher and the wisdom in your life, but you never went up to the board and tried it.
Right.
Until you get to that point where you actually try the things, then you will actually get better at it. And that's something I remind myself. I mean, I have my flaws and ups and downs too, but it's just actually doing it. Just like Nike, just do it, because that's where the lessons are from. But not only that, you also encourage other people along the way. Because
well, if Chris can get up there and do it, I can get up there and do it.
See, exactly.
Right.
I kid you not. Like, I have a trainer. I wake up every morning and work out, and now I'm slowly seeing more and more people now getting more into fitness. It's like, well, I saw you do it, so now I'm doing it, and now they'd be like, well, I'm doing exactly copying you. So you lost this amount of pounds, I can do it too. And then it makes you now stay accountable, because now like, oh, I can't stop now because now they're watching, because then you'll get that like, oh, so you stopped? I don't want to get that.
That's right. That's right. And so you feel like you're obligated now, and there's an obligation feeling, but that's a negative feeling. So you need to get rid of that and say, I'm not obligated. I am pushing forward, and I am going to make this happen, because this is something that I said that I wanted to do. So I'm going to follow through and get it done, and,
or even better, I put this, and this is a way that I tell people that blows their mind. Like, just how the fitness thing I say it's like planting seeds into people, because you never know who you may touch that may be your breakthrough.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah, because like you like, oh, I can stop now, but let's imagine if you kept doing it and it hit the person that you needed. It was actually like you're the next person to open the gate for you. So you got to keep going.
Awesome. Yeah. What's next for Chris Holmes, though? Tell me what you got in the works, man.
So right now, it is definitely pushing my media production company with photo, video, of course, my own podcast as well, because the main thing is just capturing your voice or just telling your story through any kind of media production. That's the main thing.
That's right.
But along with that, just meeting more great people, and then I'm challenging myself to travel more, because this world is so big, and I feel like I'm this small into a world that's like huge.
Well, we are this small, but you know what? We can make an impact that's incredible in the world, because there's not enough of the small people trying to encourage all the other small people, and you get a bunch of these little small people and it becomes huge,
Exactly.
and you can do that anywhere. And I'm going to tell you something too, Chris. I was given, and this is kind of a race thing on my part, because I remember I had this wonderful priest from Uganda. No, not from Uganda. Where was he from? Kenya. He was from Kenya, and he came here to learn to get formal education in being a priest. He'd already been ordained over there and everything, but he came here to the seminary to get formal education. And he said to me, "You have to come back with me. You have to come back to Kenya with me." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because it's strange, but the people will listen to what you say. They see you as having authority over other people. They see me as having authority because I'm wearing a collar. I wear a collar and I stand in front of them as a priest, as a trained priest, speaking from God, and all that kind of thing." He said, "But you come and you talk to them the way you talk to me, and the way you take me in as a loving, and they will just surround you." And I said, and he said it because you're white, and I don't know why that made a difference, but it's because of the difference. I'm different than them, and I'm different, but they understand that I'm in the same world. You know what I mean? That I'm trying to be as loving and godly as I can be also. But he wanted me to speak to them about AIDS, because it was becoming such a problem in Kenya, and for lots of different reasons that we don't have to go into. But he said, if you tell them to stop, they'll stop. And I was like, really? But I couldn't go at the time, and now I can probably never go. I had a double lung transplant 2 years ago. So with all the drugs that I'm on, I probably, because of malaria and everything, I probably can't go to Kenya, which is killing me, because I've always wanted to go to Africa.
You never know. Never know.
That's
never
true.
Say never.
This is very true. It will be a little while, though, with this whole COVID thing still going on. But no, you're right. I never say never. There may be a chance for me to go to Uganda, where I know many people and would love to visit there as well. But how do you? So what I was going to say was that's what you need to do, buddy, because they're gonna love you. I mean, they would love you because of the way you speak with the kindness and with the wisdom, as you said, and the joy in your heart. They will soak that up. So yeah, I encourage you to do that. Go there too. Europe, anywhere in the world is going to accept you, Chris, because you have the right mindset, you have the right way of thinking about things, and you are your dynamic personality. And that's what's so powerful about you and about others like us, that we're not afraid to speak to somebody. There's no fear in us to say to tell someone else that they have authority within them to make things happen. And I think that's one of my favorite things to remember for people also, is that it's authority, not power. Power is corrupt, but authority is not. And you need to grasp, and that's your next book, is how to grasp authority and how to mean it out to everybody. That's what you need to do. I'm not a writer, so
I'll take that nugget. I'm
you take
note
that
down right
nugget
now.
of authority over power. Power can corrupt, and that's what happened with Solomon. He was such a great guy for God, and God gave him wisdom, and then he took that wisdom, and somehow power got involved in there, and went to his head, and some of us know the rest of the story. I encourage you, it's in a book that you can read that will tell you all about it. So
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, so tell me what
And
else. Wrap it up for me as far as what you'd like to tell people.
to wrap it up and leave an impact, that punch for everyone, I will say, believe that you are an impact and you have a great purpose within you. So once you truly believe that, regardless of your flaws, what happened in the past, and much more, if you believe that you have a purpose and that your message needs to be reached to someone, you will start making impact to others and more opportunities will come. But it starts with yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to be able to leave an impact. But once you have that confidence to come within you, other people will start seeing that light. They will have hope within themselves as well, because they see you overcoming those challenges, those adversities. And you may be in the most hardest or worst spot in your life. You can probably be in those situations where everybody's talking down to you, everybody hates you, your family hates you, something just dramatically happened and just the world turned all upside down. But that is the greatest opportunity for your story, because when you overcome that, then you will really leave an impact to others, because
Amen.
you just gave them something powerful, hope.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hope, and also in that you can bring them some joy too. And thank you, Chris, for being on. We're gonna have to have you back on. We're gonna talk. We're gonna stay in touch with you, and when you got something new happening or going on, you by all means connect with me, and we'll bring you on, and you can encourage people through that, and tell people what you're doing and are you appearing anywhere anytime soon?
We've got some things up in the plan,
Okay.
but you can always keep up with what I'm doing by just following my podcast, Next Level Thinking, on all
Next Level
platforms,
Thinking, right?
or just
Cool.
go on YouTube and search Soul Production with the S. You'll see that SP together, and that's my stuff. And
Cool.
just enjoy the journey and the marathon as more things to come.
Amen. All right, my friend. Thank you, Chris. Man, it was a great time having you. And I hope that we will have you. I definitely know we will have you in the future. Thanks again for joining us here on our little video podcast, Be Encouraged. And you're the right kind of guy to be on the Be Encouraged program. I appreciate you more than you know, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Take care.